Hey guys, today we are going to talking about the public housing policies compared with three modern cities, the Garden City Singapore, the financial capital Hong Kong, and the third one, a typical rapid developing city in mainland China, Shenzhen. But why we select these three cities when we compare the public housing policies? In most of the developing world, housing appears to be a burden for development and a need almost impossible to satisfy for the majority of the population. These three cities present similar features in rigid economic growth and limited land use for real estate. Singapore and Hong Kong have built the two largest public housing systems in the world during the past 25 years. Their public housing systems are the largest in terms of the proportion of the population housed by the government. Also, the public housing programs actually preceded the process of economic growth throughout that period. Shenzhen lies across from Hong Kong and is the most important Chinese special economic zone. China is trying to reproduce the mechanism of participation in the international economy as the key for economic success. Although Shenzhen is not that intention for its ratio of territory and population like Hong Kong and Singapore, it's very intense of its increasing population. In order to build strong sustainable communities, provide housing supports for people who cannot afford a house to live, whatever rent or buy, the government formulates such kind of policies to help local authorities and developers to plan and build better and more housing for citizens to live in. In 2015, there is 46% of the Hong Kong citizens are living in the public housing and the subsidized self-lets. Almost half of the Hong Kong citizens can benefit from the government public housing policy, while in Singapore, 82% of the resident population live in such lease accommodation, and in Shenzhen, the benefit rate is around 25%. There are a number of eligibility conditions for a flat to be purchased. For example, in Hong Kong, the basic condition should be over 18 years old and with a low salary under 6,000 Hong Kong dollars per month. What's more, you must be a Hong Kong resident. In Singapore, a buyer must be a Singaporean citizen and be 21 years of age and have a family. Singles below 35 years old and non-citizens are not allowed to purchase flats. Your total household gross income must not exceed 7,500 Hong Kong dollars per month. In Shenzhen, the applicant should be a household register or should be a professional that meet the city's needs and have payment for more than 3 years for social insurance fee. Every applicant could just choose to rent one apartment or receive a allowance from the government. Also, the applicant will be accepted by being tested. And how much money is spent on living each month? The Housing Authority calculated that Hong Kong public housing rental price is 55 Hong Kong dollars per square meters at 2016. You can see that the median salary of Hong Kong is about 15,000 each month. All the units when it comes to money have been converted to Hong Kong dollars in this video, and the monthly renting price of low rent houses in Shenzhen is about 18 Hong Kong dollars per square meter. The price of renting these houses is about 60% of the market price. The median salary of Shenzhen is about 4,600, and the sale price is 8,400 Hong Kong dollars per square meter on the bar chart. Therefore, it is very hard for Shenzhen citizens to afford an apartment, no matter buying an apartment or rent one. Comparing to Singapore citizens, they earn much, and the payment of buying an apartment is less than Shenzhen people. Unfortunately, even if you have the money and fit those application conditions above, you cannot live into your new home immediately. You have to wait. For instance, the average waiting time for Hong Kong applicants is 3 years. 3 years, a tiny sperm can grow to a cute baby who can ask you questions and play childish games with you. Still, there is some the applicants whose living conditions are relatively better have to wait over 7 years. In Singapore and Shenzhen, the waiting time is a year more than Hong Kong. It's about 4 years. A freshman experienced joyful campus life and graduated. The area of the public housing in Hong Kong is very small. The housing authority promises to provide an area standard of the public housing which at least 7 square meters for each person. However, in the Stanley Prison of Hong Kong, the single cell area is 7.5 square meters. Even the standard of a prison is larger than a free man. Living in a Singapore flat is really comfortable due to the well-designed community as satellite towns with all kinds of facilities and moving welcomes, like offering a welcome kit to the newly residents, helping the homeowner to renovate their houses, providing maintenance and repair help, and even managing neighbor disputes. The square of the flat in Shenzhen is decided by the number of people who will live in a flat. It will be 35 square meters for one person or two persons in the family, 50 square meters for 2 to 3 persons in the family, 65 square meters for about 3 persons in a family. Flat bigger than 70 square meters were provided to those families who have 5 persons. Then, what is our policy learning? In Singapore case, there are 4 successes. First, a comprehensive public housing system since its program has covered lots of citizens' needs, including families and individuals. Second, the cooperation between the Singapore government and the real estate developers usually make the citizens can choose private housing in lower prices. Third, the government has provided adequate subsidies to citizens by housings. Fourth, the well-designed public housing in Singapore usually leads the housing policy to be successful in citizens' living condition. Despite Shenzhen has its own public house policy, it fails to establish the mature public housing system since the location and the purchase price cannot benefit the citizens. So, the Hong Kong government should take Shenzhen as an illustration to avoid those failures in public housing. Therefore, we are going to focus more on the Singapore's model in our study. 4 parts have to consider in Hong Kong context: the comprehensive public housing system, the cooperation with private sectors, the housing subsidies, and the environment of public house. Singapore provides comprehensive public housing program to citizens. Although Hong Kong has the similar housing policy, it fails to meet the need of citizens since there are only two major public housing types here: the public housing scheme and the subsidized sale flats that imply only the lower income group can live in the public housing. Also, the subsidized sale flats only offer 30% of market purchase price that cannot help much to citizens. What's more, the cooperation between government and the private sector quite important that the citizens are able to enjoy the lower price for private housing. But it is hard to occur in Hong Kong since the real estate developers own big power and they all desire to make huge profit from the private housing. Despite Hong Kong government has given some housing subsidies to the public housing residents, however, it is inadequate and is a short-term way. It seems difficult to have a central provident fund system in Hong Kong since it is an integrated system for retirement and housing, and the government does not have such system. Finally, the well-designed public housing can be applied here since Hong Kong usually is a small and crowded city. Should the lesson be adopted in Hong Kong, the technical and the political factors should be considered in the policy. In political part, the Hong Kong government has to deal with conflict between different stakeholders since the housing policy will affect their interest. In technical part, Hong Kong government is experienced in public housing development. However, it usually has to adopt some new urban planning strategies. Can the lesson be applied? Until now, Hong Kong still has huge population to wait for the public housing, especially the youth and the single individuals. Actually, the government has started different public housing plans to improve the public housing systems, such as the new town developments that also means there are some policies based to adopt a new program. How to make the program better? In Singapore case, Central Provident Fund system and various public housing are the key success elements. But Hong Kong does not have such system and the public housing is relatively narrow. For this, the government should establish some home buyer fund and rental subsidies and also develop different types of public housing, such as youth housing and housing for senior citizens to reduce the pressure of normal public housing demandings. The waiting number of public housing, the number of estimated public housing flats, and the residential population of public housing are the good indicators. If the public housing policy is successful, the waiting number of public housing will be decreased. The number of estimated public housing flats and the residential population will be increased as well. That's all. Thanks for watching our video.